The Sony FS5 Advanced Camera Kit has a lot of parts packed in specific ways, so before you take anything out, take a picture or screenshot this image. Never pick the camera up by the lens or by the LCD screen, only by the handle. By the way, the handle and hand grip technically are removable. Never remove them. There are two types of batteries. They're interchangeable. You can see how much charge is left by pressing the button on the battery. Slip the battery into the top of the battery well, then push down until it clicks into place. To remove the battery, press the battery release, then slide up. The AC adapter is two pieces, one of which plugs into the back of the camera and the other plugs into the wall. It can work as power for the camera or as a battery charger, but it can't do both at once. If you aren't using AC power, it's a good idea to have a battery charging somewhere in your base camp, but don't leave it behind when you clean up your location. You turn the camera on by pushing the power switch. There are two SD card slots under this door. Press a card to remove or insert, but never remove or insert a card while the camera is recording. If you're planning to shoot 4K, you'll need very fast SDXC cards. We've provided two in every camera. If you use your own, remember to remove them and return the camera with our cards in them. Always format your cards before shooting to make sure someone else's footage isn't taking up space on your card. Push the menu button and navigate to System Media Format. Select a card, then hit OK. You can use the Slot Select button to choose which card you're shooting on. After shooting, you can transfer directly from the camera, but your hard drive has to be formatted FAT32 if you're using 4K. It's probably easier and faster just to use a card reader. Before you start shooting, navigate to Record Out Set. Go to File Format Select and use the dial to set your file format. 4K, 1080p, what your frame rate is, and what video compression you're going to use. Choose the file format first. If you're shooting 4K, you have to choose XAVC QFHD. If you don't, you won't even get the option to choose 4K. For 1080p, you have your choice of either XAVC HD or AVC HD. If you're shooting 4K, you have the choice of shooting in 30p or 24p, and you can choose a compression rate that gives you a bit rate of either 100 megabits per second or 60 megabits per second. 100 megabits per second might stress your machine, and you might be better off shooting 60 megabits per second. If you know you have a really fast, powerful machine, you might want to shoot 100 to get a slightly better image. If you're shooting in 1080p, in either XAVC HD or AVC HD, you have a lot more choices, but basically you are choosing a frame rate, either 60p, 60i, 30p, or 24p, and then you choose either a higher or lower compression rate. Higher means bigger files that might make your computer work harder. Lower means smaller files that your computer will work with more easily, but maybe at the cost of a little bit of quality. Under AVC HD, they use a letter code rather than telling you exactly what the compression rate is, just because AVC HD is a variable compression rate, but PS means approximately 28 megabits per second, FX means approximately 24 megabits per second, and FH means approximately 17 megabits per second. So XAVC HD will give you higher quality image with larger files. AVC HD is really more about efficient compression. So use the one that you prefer, but I would suggest using XAVC HD. To control exposure, focus, and other variables, make sure the auto button is off. You can switch ISO to low, medium, or high with the gain ISO switch. You can set the values for that switch in the Camera Paint menu under ISO Set. Press the shutter button, then turn the dial to change the shutter speed. Press the dial to apply. Set the ND/Iris switch to Iris and turn the dial to adjust your f-stops. All of these variables can also be changed by pressing and moving the joystick on the hand grip. The ND filters can be set by turning this dial. Focus controls are on the lens itself. Make sure the focus switch is set to manual. Zoom in all the way if you're using the zoom lens. Zooming is done with the zoom ring, not the zoom rocker on the camera. Before focusing, push the magnification button on the hand grip to magnify the object you want to focus on. If you don't do this, critical focus will be impossible. You can use the hand grip joystick to move which section of the frame is magnified. Now turn the focus dial until the object comes into focus. If peaking is on, you'll see a colored outline around objects that are in focus. Hit the magnification button again to see the whole frame. To manually white balance, set the white balance switch to A or B. Fill the frame with a white object under the light you're shooting under. Press briefly but do not hold the WB set button on the front of the camera to white balance. To record, hit any of the red buttons. Hit the thumbnail button to switch to playback mode to review your shots. Navigate through clips, press a clip to play. If you want a slightly larger monitor, you can set up the Adipose Ninja. It's several pieces which go together as seen here. Please note that when you are shooting 4K with the FS5, when it begins recording, it will stop sending a video signal out through the HDMI connector and your Ninja will go black. When you've finished shooting, you've transferred your footage from the card, replace the cards in their slots, format the cards. You don't want someone else to have your footage. Turn the camera off and remove the battery. Please charge the batteries before returning if possible, and make sure all the pieces of the kit are packed in the right places before returning the kit.